Welcome, listeners and viewers of your award-winning Let's Talk America radio podcast. I am Shana, and you are watching us tonight on your favorite media outlet. Perhaps it's YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, but we are coming to you and on this edition of Real Talk, where we spotlight the best and the brightest experts with interesting trending topics. And tonight's edition of Real Talk is no exception. We're so excited to have, he's a newcomer to this show, but he's not a newcomer overall. He's certainly an expert and an advocate on your body, your health, and in particular, aging. Well, Greg Macpherson, he's a biotechnologist, pharmacist, and he's a best known author of the book, Harnessing the Nine Hallmarks of Aging. Well, he says that a source of some of the best immune nutrients can be found in egg yolk. That's right, you heard me, egg yolk. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. But simply serving them up for breakfast may not be enough. In the late 1960s, egg yolks got a bad rap for raising cholesterol. I think many of us have heard that, of course, but half a century of research later has proved that urban myth wrong, and that eggs were cleared of any wrongdoing that could result in increased health risk. In fact, quite the opposite was discovered. There's a lot in the golden yellow yolk that's positivity, benefiting bioactivity, and much, much more. Well, I'm no expert on any of this, but again, we're so excited to have this newcomer. It's his world debut on Let's Talk America Radio, the one and only Greg Macpherson. Greg, welcome to our programming all the way from New Zealand.
Thanks, Shana. It's great to be here. Great to be talking with you.
Super honored to have you on. I know your CV is impressive, the resume, I've read it, but we have a tradition here on Real Talk, produced by Let's Talk America Radio, Greg, where we ask our expert guests to really tell us in 2 minutes or less what got you here, right? I mean, I know you've obviously went to pharmacy school, you did a lot of research, a lot of studying, but what had you horn in on aging? Was it a personal story, perhaps?
Yeah, Shana, it's a bunch of things. You know how it works. Where just a lot of things happen to get you where you get to. And for me, I started a pharmacy that looked after residential care. So that's like people in rest homes and people that need a lot of medicine and a lot of support. And then by fortune or luck, I ended up being CEO of a biotech company. And that biotech company was focusing on cellular health and specifically aging. And I put the two together and really went, well, look, if we can stop this aging thing or slow it down, we just deliver so much benefit. And I'm just someone who's driven to want to help people. And it just so happens that all meshes up essentially to being focusing on cellular health, and it's an exciting time to be involved because we're starting to understand aging at a cellular level, which means that we can perhaps modify it and slow it down.
Yeah, I mean, and that's an interesting concept. I mean, so many people have tried to delay aging, if you will. Of course, some go to the skin or dermatology or have some different
Mm.
things done. But you're saying a lot of it is cellular, and you believe that if we tap in to be our best health wise, that we can actually help that process. I do want to dive right into your topic of discussion, your subject matter expert. But first, so many of us, I'm a kid of the 80s and 90s. I did grow up hearing that too much eggs cause cholesterol issues, right? I mean, so I know in my intro, I said that was an urban myth. And of course, based off information you presented to us. But so it's not true. Eggs, how did eggs end up being the villain?
Yeah, well, it's such a good question, and it really comes down to when you look inside an egg and look at all its components, there is a bit of cholesterol in there. And so back in 50, 60 years ago, they looked at that and went, oh, that's bad, right? And really not thinking through that when something goes into our system, we digest it and we take what's good and do what we need to do with it. So it got the bad rap then, but recently, it's come back the other way. The only rider is that if you do have high cholesterol, then you still do need to be careful. But for the rest of us, you can just go for it, enjoy those eggs, and it's a wonderful superfood full of great nutrition.
Yeah. Now, we're going to talk about eggs and in particular the yolk. I know you say that's really the key nutrient of the egg. But when people think of eggs, throughout the world, many people will say, well, they fry it and they boil it. What's the best way health wise, if you could recommend? Which way is best to prepare the egg?
Yeah, so ultimately, if you're able to have them raw, that's fantastic. But there's risks with that because they can have bacteria and so on in it. So if we look at it like that, then really just over easy, but with nicely warmed and cooked yolk is the best, safest way. But unfortunately, when you cook the egg, the immune component, which is what we're going to talk about, is destroyed. So it's sort of half a dozen of one, half a dozen of the other, so to speak.
Wow, so that's good information to know. Okay, let's dive right into it. Now, when it comes to aging, I don't need to tell you, of course, as a medical expert, there's so much more to it. It's more than the wrinkles in the eyes and whatever else comes with it. We all know, male or female, we certainly are fully aware of that. Anybody over 35 certainly picks up on that quickly. But let's talk about what else comes with it. I mean, Greg, a very serious question. We see ourselves aging, looking different. Maybe the weight is coming on, maybe the wrinkles, maybe getting out of bed, the arthritis, the knees, the back. But along with it, the immune system. Does the immune system decline the older we get, or it doesn't have to? Or is it, again, something that naturally comes with getting older, 37, 38, 39?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And you know what, we're born with a level of immunity, and that actually increases right up until the age of 20, and then it declines. And so by the time we hit 40, our immune system is actually less than what we had when we were newborn. So it's and the immune system is obviously just so important to us. And part of the reason we get some of these health conditions we age, like inflammation and cancer and some of these other diseases, is actually because our immune system's getting a little tired. It's not working as well as it used to, and it misses those little things that ultimately cause us problems down the line.
I mean, and certainly that's hardcore information, but it's something I think we do need to be aware of. You're saying by the time you're 20, it really stops. And then it can go in the other direction. Talk to us right now as real people throughout the world. Maybe they're listening to us and watching us from New Zealand. Maybe they're in Australia, or maybe they're in hot Atlanta, Georgia. Are there things we can do that's detrimental, behaviors, if you will, that sort of speed up that process of breaking down the immune system and really egging the bad part of aging on?
Yeah, so the things that we know that are bad for us, like perhaps tobacco smoke, too much alcohol, poor sleep, but too much stress. These are things that have a real material impact on our immunity. So, we can't usually get away from stress, but we can manage how we experience it. So if you've got tools in your toolkit like meditation or active relaxing, those sorts of things really do support a healthy immune system. And of course, if we can quit tobacco and drink a little less, that's really helpful. And then, exercise is good. And then just one last thing, and that's a little uncomfortable for most people, but it's a cold shower that can actually stimulate our immune system and help us be healthier.
Yeah, wow. And say that again.
A cold shower.
Oh, wow. A cold shower?
Mm.
So people all over the world just gasp right now, like, what? A cold shower? So many people love a hot shower, Greg. But you're saying a cold shower. Do explain in layman's terms.
Yeah, so our body is, when we stress it a wee bit, our body can respond, right? And one of the ways that researchers have found is if we have a couple of minutes under cold water, it stimulates our immune system. So it's really effective.
Well, it's something to know. So there for everyone out there, when the water does run cold in your home or apartment or condo, take advantage of it. According to Greg Macpherson, acclaimed pharmacist, of course, and biotechnologist, he's saying that could help your immune system. So just a few minutes though, right? You're not saying stay under the cold water for a very long time, Greg.
Yeah, you do it as long as you like, but yeah, a couple of minutes will be perfect.
Wow, that's interesting and fascinating. You are watching Real Talk, produced by Let's Talk America Radio. We are talking about the effects of aging on your body, and believe it or not, how something as simple as the egg or yolk in the egg can help you. Let's go back to that, Greg. I'm so excited to have you on when we're talking about the egg in particular. From what I've read, there is some information linked to egg yolk reducing inflammation and bad bacteria in the body. Explain.
Yeah, so yolk contains something called IgY, and IgY is like an antibody. It's actually the the immune system for the chicken, if the chicken was going to grow in the egg. And the mother is, the hen, so to speak, is its immune system is actually sensing the environment, working out what bad bugs are around, and forming antibodies, which it packs up in that egg yolk. And so that the chicken is born with immune system and protection from those bad bugs in the environment. And the biotech company that we work with has worked out a way to isolate those antibodies and purify them. So instead of having to take 2 or 3 raw eggs, we can take a couple of capsules and get the same level of benefit.
Wow. And so I do want to go back to you're saying that obviously it's a biopharmaceutical company that's sort of extracted, I guess. And it's sort of like when we hear about vitamin D or we hear about fish oil. I mean, you can attempt to get it in your diet, but so many dietitians and nutritionists have come on the show and saying you'd really have to some degree, eat a lot of the same foods, which, let's be honest, you know this as a pharmacist, for a lot of people, it's just not practical and realistic. If that was the case, we would not have a global pandemic called obesity. If that was the case, if there was self-control and choosing the right types of foods. So you're saying that is one company or companies that have figured out how to extract that so people won't necessarily say, well, every day I have to prepare an egg to get these nutrients, right?
Yeah, that's it. Instead of taking 2 or 3 raw eggs or raw egg yolks a day, you can do that same thing in a capsule now. And how it works in the body, Shana, is that it works in the gut. And what it does, it's like a sniper or a smart bomb. When you swallow it, those IgY molecules like take out the bad bacteria, they neutralize them. And so what that means is that our immune system is kind of given a bit of a break. And right now, you and I are sitting here, 30% of our energy that our body is consuming goes towards a fight between the inside of our stomach, our gut,
Yeah.
and our immune system keeping all the bad stuff out. And so when you take IgY in, it works in the gut, getting rid of the bad bacteria, and all of a sudden your immune system has more bandwidth to deal with defense, like being vigilant about what's going on in your body. But the other thing that's really interesting is the other arm of the immune system is tissue repair. So we've got a number of professional athletes taking this product because they can hit the gym harder because their repair process is faster.
Wow. And I want to talk about the repair part of it. And I want to go to the other R word of recovery, right? So when I think of immunity, obviously you think of any of us can be exposed to things. COVID-19, of course, a global pandemic that's occurred in the last 2.5 years that really hit so many communities. We heard the I word of immunity so much of saying try to keep your immune system up as best as possible. And obviously, there were other things, COVID-19 vaccination, lots of it, washing your hands, the mask, so many things they were trying to do to protect the immunity system. But one of the things that I'm going to say this, not being a medical expert like you, when I think of immunity, it does also boil down to how quick you're recovering, how quick you bounce back from something as simple as the common cold or influenza or COVID-19. And when we talk about what's in the yolk, you're saying there's research that links that recovery time to be quicker and more helpful for that human patient?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Shana. So, we've all experienced when you get sick, you get tired, right? And the reason you get tired is that the body's diverting resource from the energy that you're experiencing towards your immune system. So that's where it's going, and that's what happens. So what IgY does is it enables our bodies to deploy that energy where it needs to go. So that might be fighting something or making sure you don't get it, or it is in that recovery, that R word. And you absolutely will find that when you give your body that little bit of help, that it does speed up recovery.
Wow. I mean, that's something so important when it boils down to, again, anything that's a common cold or anything you've been exposed to, because you can't really help what you're exposed to a large degree. We all know that. Before we close out, I did want to bring up nutrients found in the egg yolk. And one that I found out that I was a little surprised about was vitamin D. We hear so many things about vitamin D for women and pregnancy that's come out as well. There's even been some information out there linking a vitamin D deficiency to certain types of cancers, in particular breast cancer for women of color. So when I saw the vitamin D, I said, that's interesting. Yet again, we have a repetition of information of how key vitamin D is. So there's vitamin D and zinc in the yolk, right?
There is. I mean, zinc is such an important mineral, but it's involved in something like 10% of the enzyme reactions in our body. So we want lots of zinc, and zinc gets used up fast by cells that divide rapidly, and our immune system describes that. So zinc is super important, and vitamin D again. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's such an important molecule. We often don't have enough of it, so it's really good to supplement it and be mindful of the foods that we can eat. And the good thing about eggs or vitamin D and zinc is when we cook the eggs, we still get the benefit of it. It's really just the IgY that we miss out on. So, again, it's a great food.
Yeah, and I love it. And I've got to ask this, IgY obviously is in the yolk as well. So the zinc, the vitamin D, and IgY. How is the IgY different from the zinc and vitamin D in the sense? Because I know we hear vitamin D, so many people have the deficiency, they need it for energy, immunity as well. The zinc, you just explained. Does the IgY, is that any different or sort of a booster that sort of operates
Mm.
somewhat with those two?
Well, IgY is a targeted protein which is designed to attach to bad bacteria and viruses and fungi. And so it's different than the others, and it only works in the gut. Whereas, if you took vitamin D or zinc, it'll end up in your body, and it'll be helping you there. But the main difference is that it's like a sniper. This IgY will take out the bad bacteria, and that really helps your body.
Yeah, I love that. And speaking of helping the body, I hear IgY has an impact on gut health, right? We've covered probiotics and how gut health really helps so much with the balance of the body overall. How does it help with the gut for humans?
Yeah, well, we've got lots of. I read something yesterday that we're only 10% human, right? We've got 90% of us is actually the rest of us is the microbiome that coexists with us, and we have good bacteria and bad bacteria, and when you've got a healthy gut, it's mostly the good stuff. So what IgY does is it actually helps take out the bad, so that the good can actually get back control. So if you've got gut issues, then the product we've got, which is called Immune One Defense. Is there to really help your gut and your immune system.
Yeah, so key. And of course, I'm sure that ties all the way in with cellular health, right? All of that being as healthy as possible, even helping with immunity and other things.
Yeah, like our immune system is just so important for our overall cellular health, because it's the monitor, it's the defender, it's the recycler, it's it helps with the recovery, etc. So having a healthy immune system is like just about the number one thing that you can do to support your body. And so yeah, this includes the gut health side of the equation.
Yeah, which is so key. Greg Macpherson, what an honor to have you on, biotechnologist, acclaimed pharmacist, and author of a great book talking about harnessing the well-being of aging, if you will. So many people talk about it, the wrinkles and everything else that comes with it. But you make a very valid point that it's beyond the superficiality of it. We're talking about keeping your immune system as strong as possible to help fight off different diseases and viruses that are so much more serious than wrinkles and getting older, right? Because that comes with the territory. We just need to embrace that part. I'm sure you would say, right, Greg?
Absolutely. The more wrinkles you've got, the more wisdom. It's a privilege to have a bunch of wrinkles.
I totally agree. I do. And one more time before you leave us tonight, what all quickly highlight things that our viewers should be doing? I know you will certainly advocate for IGY and what's in the egg yolk. Tell us that and where they can get more information about that, and also some quick points to stay healthy.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Shana. So, I wrote the Nine Hallmarks of Aging, or Harnessing the Nine Hallmarks of Aging, because we know now there are 9 areas of ourselves that like drive the aging process, and that book gives you strategies at any age to really to slow that process down. So, exercise is really important. Like having a good diet is good. If we can eat a predominantly plant-based diet, is really healthy for us. Occasionally being hungry is super good. So missing breakfast, or even missing breakfast and lunch. What that does is when you do that is it triggers the body to turn on some longevity pathways. And it's really good for us. It's not something you do all the time, but just occasionally, just to do a bit of housekeeping. And there are new supplements available now, things that support a little molecule called NAD in our cells. NAD is the most abundant molecule in our body other than water, and it's you can take supplements now that boost it up, and that means that you've just got more energy, and it just significantly helps your health. And then, of course, the immune system. Look after it. Have that cold shower from time to time, and your body will love you for it.
Yeah, I love it. So key. And R&R, getting that rest.
You bet. Yeah, it's rest and recovery and making sure you manage stress, right? Stress is not bad in its own right. It's only bad if it just continues. So, if you find yourself in that situation, start to look at what strategies you can use to manage that stress so that you're not taking it on. You can actually measure that in your cells and see the damage that's happening now. So we know chronic stress is not so good for us.
Such a great point that you're saying chronic stress. I mean, obviously things happen in life that we encounter, but you're saying if it's happening habitually, you do need to really look at ways, I guess you're saying, to cope or remove yourself from those stressful situations that are happening over and over again. Such a great conversation, one that's so timely, I'm sure, for so many of our viewers around the world watching us. Thank you, everyone, for staying tuned in to Real Talk, produced by Let's Talk America Radio. Greg Macpherson, before you head out, tell our viewers where they can go for additional information about everything you discussed tonight and about your book.
Yeah, thank you. So, the book is called Harnessing the Nine Hallmarks of Aging, and if you pop across to Amazon.com, put that in the search bar, you'll find that book. And then I have a website called www.s for science, R for research, W for wellness.co. So it's www.srw.co. And that's where you'll find this immune product. It gives you the power of the egg yolk, and also learn about how to build strategies to be just healthier as you age.
Yeah, so key. It's about being healthy and balanced as much as possible, because after all, we have to age. That
We
happens.
do.
And I know you said at 20, the immune system changes so much, but for so many of us, most of us, that's when the wisdom starts kicking in. Actually, way
Yeah.
past 20, right, Greg? What a great conversation. Thank you so much, Greg Macpherson, for joining us here. And for our listeners, thanks for staying tuned in. Of course, if you like this episode of Real Talk, please share it or tag someone you love and care about, because their health is their wealth. Stay tuned in. For more information on Let's Talk America Radio, visit at ltaradio.com. Again, that's ltaradio.com, or connect with us on your favorite social media outlet, Facebook, YouTube, if it's Twitter or Instagram, hashtag LTA Radio. Thanks for joining us, and stay informed, everyone. Thanks for watching.